Kjær Award. And please welcome Professor Russell Smith and Parliamentary Secretary Silvio Schembri, who will deliver this award.
Very good, it's working. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you very much indeed for the invitation to talk to you just for a very brief period of time about what we've been doing at the university of late in the digital arena, and also this award, very exciting award. And we have two young people who've set up companies that we want to introduce and to congratulate for being the winner and the runner-up of the Itech award. The University of Malta has a strong commitment to the development of innovation, and clearly digital forms a major plank of that. We have at the university now a Centre for Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation that has finally gone through the last few weeks of a process where we've trained 100 people with a new qualification, a Masters in Entrepreneurship. And this is a very exciting development for us because we now have not only ideas, but people capable of taking those ideas forward. So within SEBI, the Centre for Entrepreneurship and Business Incubation, we now have the opportunity to have an integrated approach to the development of new ideas and how we get those through onto the market, which is very exciting. So we have on the one hand a new course, the Masters in Entrepreneurship, and then we have a proven system of mentoring that's really proving very successful with the people in our incubator. Now, incubator is a slightly misleading term. I think we could say now that we have programs of incubation, acceleration, and also the catapult program to take people into the next level or the level after that. The Itech Award is one of a number of things that the SEBI group and the Takeoff group oversee, and we're very fortunate that those are funded by elsewhere with terrific support from government, both in terms of the Takeoff Seed Fund Award, which is 100,000 every year to be distributed amongst the winners. Now there's joined by the Maritime Award of a similar amount, for which we're also immensely grateful. And this Itech New Award is to send one of these entrepreneurs with the best groundbreaking idea for IT abroad to a conference, and it's going to be next year in Turkey, the Entrepreneurship Conference. The additional component of the prize is to have 1 year of free mentoring and support within the Takeoff facility. Now, the two people that we're going to introduce you to who are going to be presented with the award are number one, who has won the prize. It's Klaus Conrad, and you may have seen him already outside demonstrating some of his activities. This is a groundbreaking approach to the teaching of coding amongst young people. And he's going to say just a couple of words about that. So on the one hand, this is a groundbreaking approach in the terms of how we are teaching coding. Now, the second award is going to be for the runner-up to Iman Missad, who is using technology in a completely new way of trying to find and share space for people who are looking to have meetings, not only in Malta, but with the international opportunity too. He's going to tell you just a couple of sentences about that. If I could ask both of them to come up, please. So both Klaus and Iman, that would be super. And Sarah, if you'd be kind enough just to welcome them and to congratulate them. Okay, so well done. Thank you. Hi. Well done. Okay, so this is Klaus's one, this is Iman, and this is Nicola. You better come in here.
No, first of all, I would say that I am very glad to be welcoming you here and delivering, obviously, this reward from part of our government, as already has been said. This is what the digital economy is all about, transforming labor into human capital, transforming challenges into solutions. And this is what exactly you are doing, and this is what the government is committed to continue be doing and helping to transform these ideas into reality. So we could not be more proud than we are about you, and obviously you definitely merit this result. I will not continue to take much time from this important event, so let's kickstart this award so we can continue with our event today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So just a couple of words then, first of all, from Klaus, who's the winner of the competition, about his own business.
So as some of you might have seen outside, and as Russell indicated, my company focuses on the teaching of coding to young kids. And what we are doing a little bit differently is we believe that the traditional top-down approach of how to solve this problem by introducing an educational reform at the top level and then letting it filter down is probably not the best way to address this challenge. And what we believe is that there's an exciting opportunity here to combine entrepreneurship with education. And we empower teachers to become micro-entrepreneurs in their own community and set up coding camps with material and resources provided by us to help transform their local communities. Because as many of you in this room will undoubtedly know, there are some big figures that you will be aware of, like 825,000, 850,000, 900,000. The number always seems to go up every time I check. And that's the number of ICT jobs that will not be filled by 2020. The only solution to this, Europe needs an explosion of digital skills. Having just sort of normal trickle-down approach to education is not going to work, but education is the answer to the problem. So we are trying to empower and encourage teachers to really become the catalysts of change within Europe. That's it.
And Iman, a few words from you about your business.
So we believe that the economy is changing and the workplace is becoming more mobile. And for the solution, which is a challenge for the majority of people because there's change, we see an opportunity where we can transform idle spaces like restaurants, hotels, into mobile offices where people not just go there to have a meeting, but actually be their office. And what we're doing is by matchmaking solution where the restaurants, the space owner, can generate secondary money, revenue, by offering an office space for people that are remote workers and teleworkers. And having the big economy, the gig economy coming up, we assume that we will be helping these people by having an alternative space, not just their classical space.
Thank you. One final time to congratulate the two winners. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much, and congratulations to the winners. So I'm sure none of you actually recognized himself or herself in this very cruel parody. In any case, we've wanted this digital assembly to be an occasion to talk with young people, young European citizens, about their digital vision for 2025. To do so, we've organized a public contest for the 16 to 25 years old. They've been asked to send us short user-generated videos and to share their vision of the digital world in 2025. We received 153 submissions from 26 countries. Our friend Jakob will give you the address on which you can actually look at all these videos. But let me call on stage the jury responsible for choosing the 5 winners. And I'll start with you, Michael Boni. You're a member of the European Parliament. Please come and join me. Also, Miriam Dalli, European Parliament member from Malta. Johan Lepassard, you are the head of cabinet to Vice President Ansip, whom we have the pleasure to spend the afternoon with yesterday. On the jury also Nicola of the European Broadcasting Association, head of European Affairs. Anneliese Kjær, futurist. That will be interesting to find out. Trend management. and Mark Seitz, Chief Technical Officer of Hackerbay. So, now the time has come to discover the 5 winning videos and, of course, their authors. And let us start with the winner of the audience prize.
I saw the world through the eyes of others.
I saw people love and cherish.
I saw people laugh and relish.
I watched us learn together,
Grow together.
merge together, flow together.
Distances didn't seem to matter anymore.
The further we went,
The more we bound together. We learned how to accept.
How to build trust.
how to unite,
How to be complete.
We were different, but we found our way to become one.
we united in future.
We united in diversity.
So, the winner of the audience prize is Asa Arbe. Asa, please come and join me. Congratulations. Go and sit down. Asa, no, come stay with me for a while. Stay with me. So, Asa, how old are you?
17.
17. You were born in Turkey and now you're studying in Norway.
Yes, I am.
Why Norway? And what are you studying?
I'm still at high school, so I'm studying at a United World College there, where we're very privileged to study and live with many different people from over tens of different countries. So I think it's quite a good opportunity, and that's why I went to Norway.
And you're interested in filmmaking, and
Yes.
obviously you're very gifted. Congratulations. What was
you.
your idea when you actually put together this video?
Well, I really want to be an optimist when thinking about the future, despite all the social or financial or any sort of crises we might face today. And I hope that digitalization can be a tool for us to overcome our problems in some way.
Very good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now, the video of the winner of the Millennium Prize.
What will the digital world look like in 2025? I think the arts will unite with technology to make practical use of some great ideas hinted at in art. Art will become less focused on the procedures and more so on the ideas. Society will benefit greatly from digital use. Our computers will eradicate many common items and we will lead more minimalistic lives. Social media will become more important and will encourage us to communicate with people of all types. Technology will help us to dissipate human error in the medical field, understand ourselves better, and will help us to transcend the biological parameters that limit us. Technology will save us.
The winner of the Millennium Prize, Emily Miller. Emily. Bravo, Emily. So, Millennium Prize, you were born in?
2000.
In 2000. Okay, where are you from?
Ireland.
What do you study?
I'm in school at the moment. I still have 2 years of school before college.
And so, why this optimism about technology?
I think technology will ultimately help us overcome all the challenges that we face, both physically and mentally. And I think it will help everyone.
No afterthought, no doubt that there will be also some darker sides, as indeed we see with cyber terrorism and all the like?
Yes, I'd say we'll face some problems, but maybe technology will help us to overcome those problems as well.
Okay, very good. Now please go and sit down. Let's turn to the winner for Best Animation Video.
This is Alex, a young musician. He recorded a new song and would like to distribute it. However, to not lose part of his money, he doesn't work with the recorded labels. While he used blockchain-based services where value goes straight to the creator rather to the powerful forces. He goes to the distributed application, get a smart virtual contract and post his song. If someone downloaded it, Alex automatically earns money. Alex has a car and when he runs out of money, he works as a driver. He doesn't work on any of the value-sharing services, he works on himself. Again, he has an app on blockchain decentralized platform which autonomously manage vehicles and allow to earn more. So he doesn't use any centralized services with value-sharing system. When Alex, as a communicative and positive guy, hosts tourists, he again uses app, virtual contract, and money flows without any intermediary. Alex is distributed on platform identity, supports trade transactions. All these protect people's privacy and move toward free, sustainable society.
And the author of the winner for best animation video is Julia Schneier. Congratulations. Where are you from?
From Finland.
From Finland? And
came from Finland.
How old are you?
I'm the oldest one. Catch the last train.
Yeah, well, 24. It shows you are certainly the oldest one. Yes?
I'm 24.
And what do you study?
So I do my doctoral studies now in Libre, University of Technology, and my main focus is educational technologies like flipped classroom, blended learning. My main focus of the studies and implementation.
And so, what did you want to express in this?
Actually,
video?
this is not related to the education technologies, but it was a spontaneous decision. I just see the link to the digital competition and decide, okay, it's last day, I should do it. And
so you did it on the last day?
Yeah, I did it on last day. So
sounds familiar, yes.
Like everything. So actually, the blockchain is so on hype. Like a lot of people think that it's like internet, and it will disruptively change the world. So I would like to think about that we're not going to do everything using the value sharing services. So we're not going to share the value like that, and we can be without the intermediaries. So for example, for our transactions, if they will be more safe, we don't need to use the bank and give the part of the money to the bank. So this is the main idea, the whole idea.
Okay, we'll discuss about that later on. Thank you very much. Let's now turn to the winner of the best vlog video.
My name is Yuki Naroka. I'm a master's student with the Political Science Department at University of Copenhagen. But my interest doesn't stop there. I'm an aspiring photographer, filmmaker, a skateboard, I love music, I like doing all kinds of things. This video is a starting point for me to combine a lot of my interests and share my ideas and perspective with you guys. So for today, let's talk about politics. Technology has drastically changed the way we engage with politics in recent years, especially with the introduction of various social medias like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Things have become more complicated. As a consumer of information, you have to be mindful of what sources to trust and not to trust. At the same time, creators like Casey Neistat have brought huge attention to social media platforms like YouTube and proven that it could be much more than a place where you just watch cat videos. Those social media platforms have huge implications in the democratic process, as it could be a platform to share ideas, perspectives, and the younger generation's voice to be heard. I believe it is possible to bring much more positive social and political change using those platforms as we move to 2025. Thanks for watching.
So please welcome Yuki Naruoka. You'll recognize him immediately. Bravo, Yuki. So where are you from?
I am originally from Japan, but I study in the United States for my bachelor's, and I'm currently a master's student at University of Copenhagen.
So you're very old.
I'm 23 years old, so that's it.
And you've done all that already?
Yeah.
Ah, congratulations. So you believe that politics will really change by 2025?
Yeah, I think, as I said in the video, I think we could bring much more positive, social and political change through those mediums, especially through the younger generations. But also there are negative effects that we're probably going to talk about through the panel too. So I think it's a very interesting time, and it's definitely going to be very, very different by 2025.
You mean more bottom-up?
Could be, or that is one of the possible negative effects that social media could have, because people could be controlled through those mediums, and as influencer marketing and stuff like that has been very, very effective. I think it's something that we have to consider and be careful of.
Okay, we'll discuss all of that. You have a few politicians there in the panel. Okay, now the winner for the best fiction video. So please welcome Quentin Kjær from Belgium. Bravo, Quentin. How old are you?
I'm 18 years old.
And what are you doing now?
I'm actually a student who study accountancy at the Athénée Royal du Condroz in Belgium.
And you want to be an accountant or a filmmaker or both?
Actually, I think accountancy can help me to study filmmaking and maybe create my own company or society of filmmaking.
And stick to the budget?
Yes.
Which is very difficult in filmmaking. So what did you want to actually explain in this video we've just seen?
I think we can bring humanity by talking with organical elements. I think what makes something human, something real, is its ability to speak with us, to communicate. And if we can communicate with the biological world, I think we can have peace with the deforestation and this kind of thing.
Good. Well, we'll have again an occasion to talk about that in the debate. Thank you very much. Bravo, Quentin. Now, you will be asked, all of you, to vote for one of the 5 winners, and you will actually decide which one of these 5 will be invited back next year to take part in the next digital assembly. So when you've seen their videos, you will also listen to what they have to say in our discussion. And our friend Jakub will explain to you how you can vote using mental.com and using the code 218464, and of course you can vote throughout the debate. And now let's have a trailer, some of the best excerpts of our videos.
The public will be reconnected to the political process, and the digital world will be a place for every citizen thanks to the interactivity, affordability, availability and connectivity of the internet.
Social media platforms have huge implications in the democratic process, as it could be a platform to share ideas, perspectives, and the younger generation's voice to be heard. I believe it is possible to bring much more positive social and political change using those platforms as we move to 2025.
Get ready and go to school. But in 2025, all you have to do is pick up your fancy glasses, put them on, and the world changes. Everything around you becomes a learning environment. You can turn a regular room into a classroom. You can choose a different teacher for every day. You can choose between famous European scientists. You can even go outside. There's nothing stopping you. Everything around you is going to become a school.
Social networks are breeding ground for a new generation of artists who think, create and distribute entirely on web. Facts as museum, art galleries, collection will be implicated in the new process of computerized art. Social networks will be a place for all the artists who have something to communicate, and the strength of artists online will become a parameter to take into consideration when attributing a value to art. All the middlemen will disappear as they disappeared in the music industry, advertising and fashion.
This is Alex, a young musician. He recorded a new song and would like to distribute it. However, to not lose part of his money, he doesn't work with the recorded labels. While he used blockchain-based services where value goes straight to the creator rather to the powerful forces.
Thank you, Eden. What's my schedule for today?
You have 2 afternoon classes today. There is enough time for you to go for a run after your breakfast.
Okay, great. Thank you.
People get ready. The robots are coming.
There's a line. But which jobs are most likely to be automated? The answer lies in Gary Hamel's pyramid of human capabilities. The bottom 3 layers of the pyramid are commodities. They can be easily replaced by a machine. These ones. But the upper 3 layers are intrinsically human capabilities. This is also what is wrong with politics at the moment, because the bottom majority is afraid to lose their jobs, and they might do something irrational.
Then, as I went to school relying on accurate public transport, I boarded the electricity-powered driverless bus. Since they have been introduced, traffic accidents and pollution drastically reduced. And while traveling, I used e-bill site to pay for my field trip. This way, I have more time for hanging out with friends.
avatar of Paulina in virtual reality. She doesn't like meeting people in real life because it's kind of boring. Actually, she hasn't been in reality for so long. I don't think reality exists anymore.
So the idea this morning, and I hope you all agree, is to engage a discussion between the very young and the relatively young members of this panel. And I would like to welcome Hugues Bersini, who is with us from Brussels, by video conference. Hugues Bersini is a professor of computing and programming at the ULB, Université Libre de Bruxelles, and a specialist in artificial intelligence. Professor Bersini, maybe I'll throw the discussion, I'll start with you. Indeed, by 2025, what, in your view, as you are working on artificial intelligence, what will be the major impact on our societies?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we can even see you.
Great, fantastic. This is technology, so great. I have a little bit of feedback in my microphone, but if it's okay for you, it's okay for me. It's hard to say exactly what will happen. I was impressed by watching the video of the enthusiasm, the optimism, and the hope of all those young technologists. So I believe that they're right. I guess that by 25, perhaps this technology will help us to overcome most of the threats, I hope so, that are, threatening our society, our world, like the warming effect, the economical crisis, cyber war, terrorism. We need to be hopeful for those technologies. I guess that those technologies will bring us a kind of, let me say that it might be shocking, but let me say kind of a very kind big brother, a benevolent big brother that will help us to organize our world so that we can overcome and, escape from those many threats. So I think there is reason for hope, in fact.
Well, that's, an optimistic big brother version.
Yeah.
So who would like to react? Asa?
Yeah,
Do you share that optimism?
I think I want to share that optimism. I'm not sure if I am that optimistic deep inside. But I would like to ask a question. I know that you teach about artificial intelligence and many other topics as well, but I don't know if you work practically on it. But my question is that today, when we're working with weak artificial intelligence, we're not really facing problems such as robots becoming capable of responding to us as if they were persons. But what is your vision of the future when the artificial intelligence becomes much stronger and these creations of us might become as strong as us in the extent that they can respond to us as if they are persons?
I see your point. This debate between the weak AI and the strong AI has always took place, since the 80s right now. So let me tell you that we're very good in processing information. We have done incredible progress for instance, recognizing images, being able to play. Maybe the last 10 years, there's been a kind of wonderful realization of AI, like autonomous drivers. And there's no more games, society games that resist artificial intelligence these days. So we are super intelligent. What is really lacking to those AI systems these days is a very simple thing. You know, we're not very good at being in the world. I mean, being in the world is just interacting with our, you know, with reality, just perceiving reality, acting in this reality like in the same way we do. So the robotic part of AI is still pretty weak. You know, we need to teleguide, we need to drive the robots these days. They're not at all autonomous. If you want to be relaxed with the progress with robots in AI, you can surf the video on YouTube and see what happened with the soccer, you know, the robots playing soccer. You're going to laugh at them, you know, because they're pretty bad at playing soccer. You know that the Japanese want to have the best soccer team in 25 and to be full of robots. I don't think we're going to succeed in that. Even if we do a lot of progresses, you know, robot cannot really perceive the world as we do, cannot really interact with the world as we do. And another weakness of robot is the social interaction. You know, the robots are pretty poor in social interaction, understanding us. You know, this fact that we do understand each other, robot cannot achieve that yet. Perhaps they'll do, but perhaps I won't be anymore you know, I won't be alive to see that. So be relaxed. I think there is a huge opportunity of human jobs where you, in fact, emphasize those aspects, you know, being in the world and being social, interactive, yeah.
So, maybe we'll ask our futurist, Annelies Kjær, do you share this optimism? And will human always be better than robots about feelings?
I think it's not a matter of being better or worse. There are definitely things that machines can do much better than humans. So I think it's outweighing what would be the best opportunity to let the machines do. The World Economic Forum, I think earlier this year, said that one of the most important skills we will need in the future will be that of emotional intelligence. We heard it yesterday from Université, the CEO. He said the softer skills are needed. And this is exactly what we heard.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but the World Economic Forum has not always been right.
Sorry, sorry, I didn't hear that. I couldn't hear.
The World Economic Forum, which is a hugely interesting event taking place in Davos every year, has not always been right about its predictions.
No. I mean, there was obviously the for and against, but I think that that's one of the things that I picked as a futurist that I thought that makes common sense. Because we have, when we look at the model that really defined the 20th century, it was very much focused on the left brain values. We don't have a divided brain, but it's everything you can measure, everything you could count, all the detail, all the rationale. But you need to also embrace a wider context when you look into the 21st century. And this is where creativity, innovation. So we have to really balance those skills much more in the future. So let the robots do what they do very well, and then let's humans doing what they do very well, and let's find that common ground where we can live in harmony together.
Julia, you want to react to that? Do you agree?
Yeah, I think so. But
are you interested in robots? Are you concerned that they would take your place?
Actually, I'm interested in augmented reality, but mostly I'm on videos. But they now in my university use a lot of augmented reality technologies for education. So that's kind of interesting. But still, a lot of professors support the position that they cannot change it fully. I mean, like the face-to-face communication with professors is really important. So I support also that we can use the augmented reality only partially, for example, for education.
Yuki, do you agree with that there's still need for a human dimension and that robots will never play soccer properly?
That's a very, very difficult question. I had a little discussion with Mr. Suzuki from the yesterday's speaker. And he was talking about how those animated robots will probably not be seen in the market like anytime soon. And like in the case of Japan, there's a huge implication too, because there's lack in the workforce within to take care of elderlies. So there's a huge workforce lacking there. So if they're able to do that, I mean, that'll be great. He was talking about it, but at this point, you know, it's very difficult and it's limited to like manufacturing jobs and basically replacing blue-collar jobs. So not sure if that added to the discussion, but.
So you're interested in politics, you told
Yes.
us, and that's what you showed in your video. So what is the question you'd like to ask? We have two politicians here, a lady from Malta, gentleman from Poland. They're both members of the European Parliament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, related to my comment on that, Mr. Suzuki was saying that in the case of Japan, replacing workforce with robots won't cause too much friction with the labor union and so on in manufacturing jobs and whatnot. And that is because Japan actually needs the workforce. There's not enough people to do those jobs, so they actually need the robots to be doing those jobs. But what do you think the case is going to be in the European Union and on this continent, basically?
Please, who wants to answer first?
So,
Miriam.
I'm quite optimistic that this will be a transition, but then again, I'm not part of the young generation, I'm part of the relatively young generation. But I'm quite optimistic that it is not a question of robots taking over the job of human beings, but rather that robots can be complementary to what human beings actually do. And I have a couple of examples. My personal assistant is here, for example, and I saw one of the videos where there was a guy and his personal assistant was a robot. I don't imagine my personal assistant being a robot, to be honest with you. I would still need to have...
You'd rather have a more sexy companion.
The robot or my personal assistant?
Hanging over your bed.
I think my personal assistant might be sexier. But I see the work of a robot eventually helping the work that my personal assistant would be doing, but not necessarily replacing her. In a previous life, I was working as a television journalist, and I used to read the evening news, and I remember years ago, we were told that, listen, now we will be having virtual newscasters, beware, they will be taking your posts. And years later, I still see human beings as newscasters, and people, I think, still need to have that human touch. But then again, things change quickly. Until a couple of years ago, no one thought we would have a small computer as a wristwatch. Now we do. So things are changing very fast. And I believe that we need to embrace that change and be prepared for it, rather than objecting to that change and eventually being sidelined by it. So even from a political point of view, I don't see robots taking over the jobs as a principle, even though it can happen in certain sectors, and we've seen this happening. But I think we need to look at this development as something which can create further jobs, new jobs, but eventually we need to prepare our workforce for it.
Michael Boni, let's forget about robots for a moment. To what extent do you believe that our democratic process will change quite dramatically in the 20 years to come through social media? And we've seen in the recent elections that indeed, citizens' behavior may have changed. And also there are all sorts of techniques which can also be very harmful to the democratic process.
Yeah, it's a very important question. And I think that it depends on our understanding how we can use the digital tools for building democracy, not destroying democracy. Because when we will develop e-government solutions and citizens' participation in decision-making processes and citizens' knowledge about politics, about decisions, participation in consultation, I think it will be okay. When we will use the digital tools for micro-targeting, for creating echo chambers, for creating camps which are not ready to talk themselves, So I think it will be very dangerous. And this is a fundamental question now that vis-à-vis this positive vision 2025, we need to understand that this is bright side of the internet and the dark side of the internet. It doesn't mean that we don't want internet, but it means that we need to tackle those issues which are creating the dark side of the internet, hate speech, fake news. So we need to play together to avoid those threats also for democracies. Because I think that in the democracy, what is important, not only the result of one election. In the democracy, it's important participation and our citizens' activity. So let's start conversation about, for example, European digital citizenship. It's important for the future.
Johan Lepassard, you're head of cabinet to Vice President Ansip, and you come from Estonia. And Estonia has become a digital country very fast. And actually, if my memory doesn't betray me, I think Estonia was also the victim of the first massive hacking attack a few years ago. Is there more awareness now of throughout Europe, and of course at your level at the European Commission, that indeed this is a major priority for our democratic systems to be able to resist such attacks?
Hi, hello to everybody. Indeed, I think there is more acknowledgement on the necessity to protect cyberspace and to create cyberspace which is secure, trustworthy, transparent as well, and which reflects the kind of democratic principles that we believe are essential for us. But I think what is more important is that, and I've received a lot of assurances and inspiration from these videos, is that we see what is the promise of digitalization in not only changing the interaction between humans and other humans, or humans and machines, or humans and robots, but also humans and environment around us, to understand better the things that surround us, and also to respond to this. I mean, perhaps, as you say, I'm Estonian, so I'm very digitally minded, and my society where I come from is really optimistic about digital change. But I'm also a tree hugger, and I always wanted to talk to trees. And I think really the kind of
You know, it's a huge bestseller.
I
think
so.
It's a German writer.
Yeah.
Who published a book. It's been translated in all European languages, and it tells you that you have to talk to trees.
Yeah.
And you feel much better.
And
Is that what you do every morning?
What could that change for our society? I think, I mean, if we could understand better climate change, but I mean, if my favorite oak tree would have a Facebook account, and I would understand, you know, how it feels and interacts with the rest of nature, I think it would be a wonderful kind of a stimulus for humanity as an entirety to rethink our position on certain issues. So I think my just response was that what I got from these videos is not only that perhaps we as decision makers or politicians, we tend to overemphasize risks and well, let's see, kind of don't see the opportunities. But I think these videos showed us that we should be more forward-looking in terms of some of the applications of this new brave world. And yeah, I feel very inspired by that.
Quentin Conchat, that's also what you expressed in your video.
Yeah, really, it's a new way to communicate. And I think about the question for the jobs and the digitalization, I think new technology brings new jobs, and we must follow the technology if we want to have a job. And I think the video were some good way to improve in the future, and it's not what's going to be done, but I think it's how things have to be done. But, okay.
Okay, Emily, your video, you called your video "Technology Will Set Us Free." In what way would we be more free than we are today, at least in our democratic European Union?
I think technology will help us overcome our physical challenges and mental challenges. Speaking from my own experience, I have ideas, but I'm an artist and I'm not good enough with technology or science to come through with those ideas and put them into physical things. But I'm hoping someone that would be better in that field could help me in the future.
Nicola, Franck, you're involved and have been involved with television, radio, traditional media. All these media which have been trying quite hard to adjust to the technological change. Do you believe that there will be a major impact on culture as we've known it for decades by 2025?
Let me maybe first say I was very impressed by the creativity, and I think this can have actually an impact on culture and the production of content. It was great really to see all these wonderful ideas and also the way you put it in motion. Great, congratulations again. And also I was impressed by the optimism and reassured that the young generation is really so optimistic with regard to what is going to happen in the future. So let's use that and make something good out of it. That's great. Yes, and of course, as you said, Christine, public service media organizations have been transforming into the digital world now for a number of years already. They all work with social media platforms. They have their own online platforms. They want to communicate with the audience, so they personalize. They give the opportunity to personalize the offer, to communicate with the audience, to interact. So there are a lot of new ways to deal with this, and this has already, I think, an influence on culture and content, because new formats are created which work not only in traditional television or radio context, but also online, where you have sometimes audience participation. So this is all very much influenced by this. But I would also have a question maybe, because two of you addressed the question of, do you still need an intermediary between the creator and sort of the audience or the consumer? And the other question is trust in media, trust in social media platforms. I looked up for interest. There was a recent study by the European Commission in Eurobarometer which found that only 21% of people really trust in social media, in the information they get from social media. They still trust much more traditional television and radio media. What is, maybe a question here to the young winners. Do you think, because you all talk about social media, that trust...
Okay, pick up one.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to ask?
Maybe Yuki, because you talked about politics and social media, maybe that's a...
Yeah, well, the question was, do the younger generation trust the social media? Like the information you get from the social media, right? That's a
tricky question.
Yeah, it's a tricky question.
First of all, are you on Facebook, on Twitter, on Snapchat? Name it. Are you on all of them?
At least I'm on most of them, I think.
Most of them?
Yeah.
Which one don't you like? Which one do you actually reject?
Which one do I what?
Is there any social media you really think is not useful and eventually harmful because it might invade your privacy, collect too much data, and all of that?
To me personally, Snapchat is probably the less relevant one, because it's just about sending video clips to people and people just see it and it just goes away. So I don't really personally see the use in that, but platform like Facebook, There's a lot of different kinds of pages and a lot of news sources are on there. So like a lot of younger people get, see the news article on the news feed to get information. But that's still, I think most of it is traditional media, like posting on Facebook. So I'm not sure if that counts, but at least in my personal friend circle, I don't think there's a lot of people who actually go on Facebook to get actual information.
But you've just said the problem with Facebook, it has become the major media source, certainly in the US, and it's becoming so in Europe as well. But it means that you actually get interested in what your friends are already interested in. So it's a silo culture, and you hardly ever debate with people who don't agree with you. Isn't that a problem? Yeah. Which, of course, traditional media, as Nicola pointed, do not actually bring about.
I mean, I think that's definitely true, because you only see your friends, what your friend is interested in, basically, and what you're interested in. But, I mean, I don't think that's too different with traditional media either, because people choose their network, news network. I mean, I don't know too much about the situation in Europe, but at least in the United States, right? There are certain media sources that are more towards the right and more towards the left, and people choose the network that you see, the news network that you see. So I don't think there's too much of a difference there.
Mark Seitz, we haven't listened to you yet. You're Chief Technical Officer at Hackerbay. Tell us what Hackerbay is about, because it's a fascinating story.
So, in one sentence, Hackerbay is a software innovation company, and we really help corporates get online, get on the cloud. As we heard yesterday, there's a lot of initiatives about the free flow of data within Europe, and that just doesn't work if all the data sits on-premise servers. So on-premise means the company within their country has servers and all the applications run on those servers. So we need to transition to the cloud and, of course, adhere to data privacy laws, which are very important, but more so we need to embrace innovations. We need to embrace, I guess, new forms of data as well.
But you also need to protect the data, and that's obviously, we discussed it yesterday afternoon, but that's also become a huge challenge for citizens as well as for businesses and governments and parliaments, and name it. I mean, it's a huge issue.
Yeah, for sure. I guess by 2020, there's several scenarios that could play out. And probably the new normal will be that people will just assume that their data will be stolen or publicly broadcast, and that they can't do anything about it. Our governments won't be able to fight or address the attackers appropriately just because they don't have the means.
Why? Why wouldn't they have the means?
Just because, well, let's say that anyone that's trying to break into something, they usually use the latest technologies. They usually know what they can exploit and what not, where the vulnerabilities are. They work really well together globally and remotely because they have sort of the same cause. And whereas governments trying to protect them, they're always at a disadvantage because imagine someone's trying to break into your house. If there's an attacker, he just needs to know one broken window, one door that's unlocked. But you, as the protector of the house, you need to protect every possible entrance. So you're always, by default, at a disadvantage. And I think what we've seen so far with cyber attacks is nothing compared to the next few years, because they're still rooted by humans. They're still exploited vulnerabilities found by humans. And the next wave of cyber attacks will be powered and empowered by AI. So our governments, our data law enforcement, they need to step their game up and also embrace AI and technology to fight those crimes in the same playing field.
So humans would be the bad guys, and eventually robots would be the neutral guys, if not the good guys. Professor Bersini in Brussels, in what way could artificial intelligence improve or indeed aggravate all these issues about cybersecurity?
Let me just react on something, perhaps not exactly to your point, but I was very much impressed by the video of Rulia, I guess this is the right name, this video on this blockchain and decentralized thing. I would just like to say, if you allow me 1 minute about that video. I think it is a great video. That was the one that impressed me the most. And the reason why is because we're losing a battle on the web. You know, I am an old guy of the web, and I used to be a libertarian of the web. So, you know, someone who really insists on the democracy and equality on the web. And now with those very much central platform like Google, obviously Amazon and Uber and all those last platforms, we're a little bit losing a battle. The web could have been much more equalitarian and much more democratic if we didn't have those platforms. It would have even been more safe and more private if we didn't have this platform. And I guess that what this young lady showed in this video is a way, I don't know how exactly that could be done, but it's a way to rebuild the web in a completely much more decentralized way. Even, you know, you can imagine that even Google could have existed without Google. We don't need to have a central server to search the web. You know, for instance, these famous algorithms that started Google, like the PageRank. PageRank could have been done without central server. We didn't need to have a central server capturing the whole cartography of the web. So Uber could exist without Uber. Even Amazon could exist without Amazon. So we can have a direct connection between the offers and the demands with no need for central server. I mean, this is really important. If we move into that direction, we will give less and less power to the central platform, so that will protect our privacy and give back a lot more equality and democracy and even economical equality.
Julia, do you agree? Or, if I may say, is it really too late for this kind of utopia?
So I believe that it's going to happen. It's like the people...
You mean all the GAFA companies will crash down?
I mean that we...
Or they will commit suicide and say, oh, we make too much money, we're too powerful, and so please forgive us, and we will just vanish.
I think that in politics there were movement from centralized to decentralized, and we can see the benefits, the fruits from that. And here is to the companies that can happen the same way. So if we have the internet in the future, we will have the same decentralized platform which allow to make the safe transactions. This is the main idea of the blockchain. This is how I understand that we have a lot of blocks and they're connected, and if something changed in one block, the other block is alerted about that. So that's why the design is already trustful, so it's not possible to... And in that way, if we have these trustful transactions, we can use, we can make any, I can give and rent my flat to any other person, and I will trust him, because we will have these online contracts, like digital contracts. They all is built based on digital, not ruined contracts, which you can ruin. This is how I imagine that, and I believe in that. So
Professor Bersini obviously agrees with you, but Annalisa Kjær, Julia actually said the key word, which is trust.
Trust.
And do you believe, as a futurist, that trust will become more and more of an issue in our digitized societies?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm Danish, Swedish, and the Danes have the highest trust index in the world, according to the OECD, 97%. And I think the Nordic model altogether is a model that can be explored and looked at in different ways. I mean, if we have a disagreement anywhere, you know, like in a company, we would just workshop it. And I think this idea of working together we are stronger. And I really also liked your video because this idea of cutting out the middleman. If the middleman doesn't make any sense, he's just a disturbance, then I think the trust is sometimes broken by these middle people because they are basically playing the two parties up against each other. So I really believe in this, I would say, romantic world, but it's actually also a rational idea. So the Nordic, I think the reason why they're so successful and the trust is that they're rational, they get together, how can we solve that together? So I speak about, I would say, democratic, I mean the sort of democratic, digital democracy, and I really believe in that, and I think this is where the world is going. And I think also all of the populism we're seeing now, all of that is a bloody wake-up call. We all have to wake up, smell the coffee, and understand, because what we see now is not building trust, it's building a suspicion, it's building uncomfortable. I mean, only a few weeks ago we had another attack in London. We've had 3 attacks in a few months, and all of that makes everybody feeling uneasy. Thank God the younger generation don't see the world as them and us. We are looking in a much more diverse direction. I believe in the liquid society where we have diversity of age, gender, nationality, thoughts, and hopefully that will build more trust. But we need time, and we need a lot of time, and we also need to use digital tools for good, not for bad. But you will always have to have the balance.
Yes, because unfortunately there are also young terrorists who are very, very apt and very good at using all these digital tools. May I remind the audience that you will have to vote at the end of this session to decide who of these very bright and talented 5 winners of our prizes will be invited back next year. And Jakub is reminding you here of the way to go and vote throughout the session. Jakub Kaczman, you've been collecting questions from Slido throughout the session. Could you sort of summarize what have been the most interesting ones? Because
yeah, exactly.
I haven't been able to look at them.
First, I was also following the online debate on Twitter, so people were really with passion tweeting about this session and mentioning the robotics, artificial intelligence, the blockchain is now coming as well as we are discussing it. And on Slido, I think the most interesting questions are actually about taxing robots. So there is Kasia Jakimovic, you can see it on the screen on the top. New reality requires new way of thinking. So how about taxing robots for the work they take away as suggested by Bill Gates and feed the money back for further innovation? So it will be the first question, and if I can just one more question add, you can see it the third from the top. Do you believe that the new technology is really improving communication between humans? So it's a more general one.
So who wants to answer that one? That's not a... Do you believe that, Aisel, that communication between humans is improving?
I think it's improving in some ways, but overall I see a sad decrease as well, because I feel like most, or I don't know, some of the young generation tends to use social media in a way that doesn't take the opportunity as much as possible. I feel like it also tends to distance people through connecting them via internet. I mean, it's a great tool for me because I'm studying abroad, and when I want to talk to my family or my friends, and when I want to keep my communication still healthy and possible in some way, yeah, I think that it's a great opportunity. But on the other hand, I feel like it also kind of corrupts the way we build our culture. And people tend to, as it was mentioned before, when you're using Facebook as a source of media, as a source of news or information, then you see those people who you already agree with, and then those people who you don't agree with are just removed, and you don't really have to deal with them, which doesn't really give opportunity for people to actually discuss and argue and build up their ideas in a more productive way, I think.
Nicola, Frank, is that actually a very good argument for traditional media platforms to encourage debate and indeed contradictory debates and not, again, follow that trend in social media, which consists in just looking at what people who agree with you are looking at?
No, indeed. I mean, this has always been sort of the mission of public service media, at least, to give the whole breadth and background of certain issues and to stimulate debate and show different views also. This is very important. Of course, you can also do it probably to a certain extent with social media or with online platforms if you want to. And a number of our members actually are developing also, online services, personalized services, which give a personalized service, but at the same time also offer information on other subjects, on other views, so you can have a combination of both to always offer the audience really the breadth of different views. That's very important, of course. So there is, while, of course, I think traditional media have a strong role to play, and what you say about communication also, there is an element that these short communication, Twitter or on Facebook or others, it's often very superficial, so you cannot go in really into the depth of the matter, and that is very important.
Yeah, but I mean, the American president would disagree with you. He thinks it allows him to go to the depth of the matter.
I would have difficulties to agree that this is the depth of the matter he tackles in his tweets. But no, that is actually the role also of journalists, to put things into context, to explain, to give different elements of the story. And that is, of course, sometimes very difficult in a social media context. There you need a different platform also.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Michael, Boni?
Can I add something? Because I agree that there are some dangers if we are using Twitter 140 characters, so it's simplification. And the danger is that we are simplifying the understanding of the world. Yeah. And this is the real danger. On the other hand, it gives to us many possibilities to communicate very briefly, very shortly, very fastly some information. What is important to understand not only our habits, but understand the technical backgrounds, because we are using algorithms for profiling us. It's very good for marketing, but I'm not sure if it is good when we are looking and watching on information sources. We are also profiled. So when we are starting to use right-wing sources of information, step by step we are having many information on this side, and this is the creation of this echo chamber, yes? And I think that we need to talk with platforms or change the paradigm and start with decentralization and have much more simple and way to access to all sources of information, because it's very dangerous to live in one paradigm related to understanding of the world.
Yes, not to mention fake news and bots and, the whole system.
This is the consequences of this, yeah.
Of course. Miriam Daly, as a former journalist, would you subscribe to that?
If I may, I think there are two sides to the coin, to be honest with you, because I think that the technology we have today is helping us keep in touch with distant relatives, for example, through video calls, etc., something which we couldn't do before. But there is also another side to it. So if you go on Facebook, Here in Malta, we've just came out of a general election. I'm assuming this happens in other countries as well. Somehow when people are on Facebook, for example, they feel liberated. They feel free that they can debate and tell their opinions and how they see things. And it could be because they are feeling comfortable in front of a screen at the safety of their homes. Probably the same people will not speak out if you invite them to debate their ideas publicly, or simply if you go with a microphone and ask them questions, but they do feel comfortable speaking out when they are behind the screen, which can be good from one point of view, and this can be very negative from the other point of view. And here I would like to focus in particular when it comes to vulnerable people and to children, particularly children who end up being bullied online, and that bullying is carried over into their schoolyard or into their school minibus, etc. So these people are ending up being most vulnerable in those places where they should feel the safest, like their bedroom and the home, where they end up being virtually bullied. And that is something that we need to take into consideration as well, and it is something that we need to address. And if I may, I know that Mark is a white hat hacker as well. In the Parliament at the moment, we are discussing a report about cybercrime, and I am representing my political group on this report. The rapporteur is from EPP. And one of the things that I would like to see included and that I would like to push forward is for authorities to actually engage people in the IT community and to engage white hat hackers. And why I'm saying this, because initially Mark made a reference to this as well. Many times I feel that our police authorities, our security authorities, they try to address cybercrime or cybersecurity with the traditional tools. And you can't actually address cybercrime and cybersecurity with the old traditional tools. And I think that we need to make a leap forward, engage further the industry, and engage further white hat hackers who, in my opinion, have the technology and have the know-how on how to help authorities on these very specific things.
It's going on in Europol, for example, now.
Anything. I mean, you know, if we engage with white hat hackers, we can actually start addressing issues which until now has been very questionable and has been very risky and an area of concern. And let's face it, many times we speak about cyber world and security, and it's like what's happening about my data, about my privacy, etc. But these are the same concerns that we have in our everyday life. So it's not like the reality that we live in is 100% secure and nothing will happen. So it's not a question of cyber world and the real world, as many times we hear, because in my opinion, as I see things, it's one world, and we need to make sure that we address it in its different facets and different areas.
There's a very good question on precisely that challenge. It could be dangerous for the society because of the illusion to realize immediately all your dreams and ambitions, and then you come back to real life. Emily, what do you think of that? Living in a virtual world, and then, wow, back on Earth.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge, but I guess people could become addicted to that high and find it difficult to come down from that. But in a physical way, it's not harmful like other addictive things are, like alcohol and drugs, that give us the same high. Virtual reality doesn't harm us in a physical way, but it may harm us in a mental way. So I don't know. But like this lady said, they don't have to be different worlds. We can merge them together. Sorry.
Well, there's a lady, I don't know whether she's in the audience, there's a feminist among us, because someone is asking, is the future of the internet male, or why are there so few women speaking? Well, it seems to me that we have just as many women, and maybe even one more, if I may do it myself, in this panel. So that shows that reality somehow doesn't translate all that, you know, that
much
precisely.
Much more women actually.
Professor Bersini, let me go back to you for your answer to this idea, this question that was referring to Bill Gates' suggestion that robots should be taxed. There should be taxes on robots, as indeed there are taxes on human labor. Would that make sense in your view, or would it, on the contrary, contribute to the merchandising of the whole system?
Really, I never understood this idea of taxing robots, you know. But I missed the point. I don't see the point. Well, first, because a robot don't earn money. I mean, obviously, the people that create those robots certainly earn money, but we have already a huge amount of difficulties in order to tax you know, Apple, Google, whatever, who are behind these robots. So first, let's try to tax them in the right way before thinking about taxing robots. I really believe that this whole idea of taxing robots is connected with the fact that the robot should substitute our jobs, should take away our jobs. But I don't think that this will never occur. You know, as I was telling before, I guess that one of the huge difficulty of AI system these days is really to be in the world, to interact with the people. It's certainly true that the best radiologist tomorrow would be a robot of softwares, obviously, because they are much better for diagnosing cancer or recognizing radio images. But who is going to tell the patient that he is suffering from a cancer? Certainly not the robot, you know. You need to have those kind of soft skills that we were discussing before. So I fully agree with all of my partners in this panel that we need to reinvent the job, but they will certainly not disappearing. So taxing robots, so according to me, it's completely meaningless.
Mark Seitz, do you agree with Professor Bersini, or would you be more on Bill Gates' side?
No, I absolutely agree, and I think he made a great point saying that, well, the robots don't earn money, so why should we tax them? And I think by...
No, but the companies making the robots, obviously,
Well,
and will make money.
But then the companies making robots, selling it to some other company that are employing the robots, and that company, again, benefits from the support in the workforce, and probably producing cheaper goods or services that, again, are consumed by end consumers. And I think the whole cycle, like if we start taxing robots, then an SME that would employ such a robot on a very minor task or something would just not be viable, or maybe that business model wouldn't even work out if he didn't have that robot. So I think it just doesn't make sense to tax a robot, and I agree with...
It's very seldom that, you know, anyone dare say that Bill Gates doesn't make sense, but then, indeed, these are some very good arguments. Yuki, yes, please, Mr. Boni?
We have discussed this issue when we work on the report on robotics in the European Parliament. And we decided not to accept the solution on taxation, but on the other hand, we need to understand that the products and the work is cheaper when the companies are using robots. So this is of the question of competition, and this is a background for this Bill Gates announcement. On the other hand, we need to find the sources for financing this transition period for people to be much more adaptive to the new challenges related to the common work in the future with robots. Yeah? So this is a question how to finance it, and I agree with you that this is not the way to make taxes and to put taxes on robots. But on the other hand, we need to consider which way we will find to finance this transition period and to create the new paradigm, cooperation between humans and robots. Don't be afraid, but on the other hand, starts cooperation.
There's another competition going on. We still have about 10 more minutes to go, and may I remind you that you have to vote to decide who between Emily, Yuki, Julia, Quentin, and whom am I forgetting? No, Asa, of course, our winner of the audience prize. Who of the 5 will actually be with us next year? Yuki, do you envision yourself actually working with a robot in a few years' time?
Yeah, definitely. Not just only robots, but AI too. I'm sure there are a lot of tasks that, like simple tasks, like you know, like accounting and whatnot, that could be delegated to like AI, and very simple tasks like that could be done by robots. Maybe like even customer service, like those small convenience stores and stuff like that. I mean, they could be automated if we really want to be, right? So I think there is, of course, a huge possibility.
And what is actually your goal? I mean, do you want to create a startup, or what do you want to do next year?
My personal goal?
Yes.
I'm going to be in the master's program for another year in University of Copenhagen. But after that, I have no idea. I'm really an Empyrean that I'm exploring different career options, and filmmaking is something I've picked up very, very recently, actually, in the past literally few months. So I'm trying to explore what can I do and where can I make the most positive social impact in the society, basically. And I think media could be the way. So I picked up filmmaking and just started experimenting that, and that led me here. So it's very exciting. But yeah, I still don't really know, and yeah, it's very, very open book.
And Julia, what do you think you want to do in the coming few years? Not only next year, but coming few years.
Okay, I'm going to continue my doctoral studies, and now actually we are in the middle of preparing some startup for education to chat feedback systems. So I'm thinking I'm going to do both in academic and business. I will try to do the best here, because I know that most of people suppose that people who already do their doctoral studies, they not going to go to the business and not going to go to the startup. It's hard to. And I'm going to break the rules.
You're going to break the rules and do everything at the same time?
Yeah, because it's related, like education, what I'm doing, like research, and the startup.
And you, Quentin, what do you see yourself doing in 2 or 3 years' time?
First, I think I have to do some more studies in filmmaking, and after, I have no idea of what I'm going to do. I think it's life. We can't predict what we're going to do, but yeah, I think it's in filmmaking, share some vision around the world, and that's it.
Emily, your turn. Where do you see yourself in 2 or 3 years' time?
I'll probably be studying in 2 or 3 years' time in college, but in the future I'd like to make art that could be of productive use to people, more so than entertainment, as well as entertainment, I guess. I'd like to do both and explore how ideas that artists come up with can actually be helpful, but they may not be able to put it into practical use, but they focus on the idea.
You mean what, putting more culture on the web, or finding new ways to promote culture? I mean, creative work? What's the idea?
Well, maybe new ways to do anything, but have other people help do the technical side of it, because I'd fall down in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. And you, Asa?
After graduating from high school next year, I'm planning to study filmmaking and explore it both as a form of art, as a way of self-expression, because it's really what I'm passionate about, but also as a tool of media, which I think is really prominent. So I'm trying to find more ways to improve myself in terms of filmmaking.
What is remarkable about the five of you is that you come from different countries. You usually, except maybe for Quentin, but you are studying in colleges or universities in different European countries. So, Esa, is this really a sort of sample of this young European globalized generation?
Yeah, I think starting from middle school, even though I was living in a country which is not a member state of the European Union, I was very much impacted by all the different European cultures. And for example, studying different languages, their cultures, their literatures is really what I'm very keen on. And I think it helps us become more globalized and more understanding in a way towards different people, different societies.
Very good. Now, the voting is closed, and I believe we have the winner if the technology has worked, but it should have worked. And with whom do you want to debate again at the 2018 Digital Assembly? And the winner is Asa. Quite a large majority, bravo, 53%. But let's also congratulate the other winners of our prizes, Julia, Emily, Yuki, and Quentin. And please, we can also thank and applause Professor Bersini in Brussels and the members of the jury who have taken part in this debate. Thank you to all of you. And I will ask the five young winners to come on stage, and that's for the family picture. You know, it's still traditional. I mean, we've been in the digital age, but we still take photographs. So, here you go. Bravo. A big applause to them all. Now, you are all entitled to a coffee break, but let me tell you that many of you have left your gift packs a bit all over the place, and sometimes it isn't yours. So there are all sorts of gift packs full of personal objects. So if you have a bag and you discover that in that bag there's something that doesn't belong to you, please bring it back to the info desk at the registration. And if you are missing some of your personal stuff in the bag you are actually carrying, please go to the same place and you will actually find it. Thank you very much. Have a good coffee and see you in half an hour.